Greetings, my fellow Africans and the entire world. My name is Emmanuel Mensah, and I am a co-founder of the African Mental Emancipation Movement. The purpose of our existence is for the complete and the total emancipation of the African minds from mental enslavement or mental slavery, as observed by Marcus Garvey. Today, I'm going to speak to you on the topic, Africa is not poor, but it is the African minds that are poor. I repeat, Africa is not poor, but it is the African minds that are poor due to mental enslavement. And on this, I'm going to invoke the words of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first president of my country, Ghana. According to Dr. Nkrumah, that Africa is not poor, but it is the African people that are poor. And on this, I agree with him. And I am not here to debunk what he said, but he actually made a statement in a context a little bit different from my context. Because my former president, whom I would consider as my father, was talking in terms of the physical things that we are seeing. But I'm speaking to you from the perspective of the mind. And I believe that the job I'm doing, or the work we are doing at African Mental Emancipation Movement, is the continuation of the work of Dr. Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey, Dr. Martin Luther King, and all other black leaders that came and left us. So today, why am I saying that Africa is not poor? Africa is rich, but it is the African minds that are mentally poor. Okay, so now if you go to the forest, you will see that we have animals that live in the forest. Their lives are not transformed. They live in a very poor conditions. They cannot use all the things that surround them to make their life meaningful, because they are not made for that. And for that matter, if you say that because the animals live on trees, or they sleep in caves and in deplorable conditions, because the forest is poor, then you are making a mistake. It is just that the mind, which is the supreme creator, is not in their calculation. But for human beings, regardless of our race, God has been so generous. And for that matter, he gave every human being a mind. And the command at the beginning was that create or perish. If you create, you enjoy, you have a fulfilled life. But if you fail to create, then you perish. That was the command to all human beings. And so you see that whenever you go to any place, and the people are living in a very beautiful condition, their life is moving on, very beautiful, such that you wish you are one of them, then it means those people responded to the command given to all men and women, humanity, that create or perish. And so Africa is a blessed continent by nature, but God has already finished his creation. God is no longer creating, but now we are the co-creators with God. And for that matter, God is creating through us. And so God has given us everything: the land, the sea, the air, the sun, the minerals, everything that we call natural resources was given to us, or were given to us by God. But on the condition, on the command that take these things and use it to transform your life and make your life a meaningful one. And let us walk, let us move in an upward direction. And so the only command, the only reason why we are here on earth is to co-create with God. And by the co-creating with God, I mean you allowing God, by the use of your mind, positively and constructively, to pass through you, to bring beautiful and wonderful things into your experience. And so, we cannot say that God has not blessed Africa. We have all that we have. But there is the need for a mind that can transform, that can turn all the things that God has given to us into beautiful and wonderful things, high-end commodities. But in this case, just as the animals in the forest do not have the concept of creation, in the same way, Africans, our mental enslavement is like we have put a lid on our mind, and for that matter, we are unable to use our own natural resources to turn our lives into a beautiful one. And so you will see that if we are to do exchange and move all the people in Europe to Africa and move all the people in Africa to Europe with the current conditions, believe it or not, in the 1 or 2 years' time, Africa will turn into a paradise such that Africans that have been moved into Europe will begin to come back to Africa. Because the mind to maintain what has been created on the European continent is not there. But it is not that God has shortchanged us, but it is just our perspectives and our beliefs. And therefore, that is the reason why the African mental emancipation movement is here. God has given us everything. And it is our responsibility, our duty, to take whatever God has given to us and apply our minds on what God has given to us to create beautiful and wonderful things and share it with the world, such that we will also be part of the movers of the world. And so Africa is not a poor continent, but the outlook of the people on the continent is poverty, because the mind, which is the master creator, has been put into enslavement by our own traditions, by our own beliefs, taboos, and all those things. And now is the time. We are in the 21st century, in the millennium age, where men and women are crisscrossing the world in minutes. We go to space and come back. And every human being at this point, regardless of where you are, regardless of your race, we should be able to use our mind to transform our lives. And that is the challenge. The missing link in the African situation is the correct, the purposeful, and the positive use of the mind. And when we become conscious of this, and we begin to take the necessary steps in liberating our minds, throwing out all traditions and things that have actually put us in enslavement, freeing our minds, believe it or not, we will see development springing forth everywhere on the continent of Africa. And so today, I want to take you to the Bible, according to St. Paul, that be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds, the renewal of your minds. What was he saying? Or what is the Bible telling us? The Bible didn't say that be transformed by selling your natural resources, by selling your whatever you have to other people and use that money to contract them to come and develop you. No, but he said, be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. Without the mind, there can never be development. Without the mind, They can never be riches. We can sell all these things. We can give them to other people and take the money. Believe it or not, the money will not take us anywhere. But when we stand up, when we all become conscious of the fact that we are all human beings, God has endowed every one of us a mind, but we only have to turn our attention to how to use our mind positively and constructively. Then we have the answer to our situations. We will be able to create other commodities based on our circumstances, based on our conditions, and share them with other people. And that is when we can say that we are transforming our lives by the renewing of our minds. The renewal of your mind is simply continuously, consistently renewing, checking the way what you are thinking about, thinking in the positive, believing and trusting, believing in your powers, and knowing that you have the right to create your own realities. That is the renewal of your mind. Anytime you go off, you bring yourself back, such that you will be in tune with God continually. That ideas, inventions, revolutionary things will pass through all of us. And that is when we will say we are developing. So Africa is not poor. And Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was right. Africa is not poor. The people that live on the African continent, they are poor in mind. And once we begin to cultivate our mental capital, such that we become rich, super rich in mind, and allowing what is in our mind to flow through into our experiences, then whatever we have within us will begin to spring forth on the African continent, and we will be developed like any other country. We will be developed like any other continent. And so today, the invitation is from me and all of us at the African Mental Emancipation Movement is, please, my brother, my sister, my fellow Africans, this is the time for us to wake up and begin to think of how to use our minds positively and constructively. But it all begins on the premises that we are co-creators with God. God has deposited something beautiful, powerful in us. And that is the part of us called the subconscious mind. Every human being has a mind. Your mind has two levels or two spheres. We have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is what we use to think and to do analytical things. The subconscious mind is the engine of the human being. And every group of people that knew about these calculations or the arrangement of the human being, they have been able to actually look within themselves for solutions to their problems, and they go on to create it and move the world. You are made in the image and the likeness of God. There is a force in you, a power in you, and that force is your subconscious mind. That is God himself in you, and you are only to think in a positive, constructive way and allow this part of you, which is God himself, to reveal to you things that men and women have never seen. And that is why the Bible says that things that no man has ever seen, the things that no man has ever heard of, are those that God has in store for those who love him. And that is what we are talking about. So Africans, even mentioning the name the subconscious mind is something that is kind of a taboo or something that Africans haven't heard of at all. But this part of us, this divine nature in every human being is well known in other parts of the world. And that is what they've capitalized on. That is what they've capitalized on. And for that matter, they believe in themselves. They don't look for outer things. They don't look for solutions in outer things. But they believe in themselves, for they know that they are in partnership with God in the creation of realities. And so, Africa, we have all that we have. God has blessed us with everything. We are not able to create. We are not able to use our own resources to improve our lives because we lack the understanding of who we are and what we possess. And now is the hour, now is the time, my fellow African, whoever you are, wherever you are, that you are listening to me, you can just sit down and do a simple analysis and ask yourself, why is it that upon all that we have been doing, upon all that we have done, our situation is not going any better? The African hasn't been able to look at his own challenges and take them head on and turn them into opportunities. The answer is what I've just given to you. There is a power. There is a power in every human being, and that is your subconscious mind. That is your God nature. And once you know how to harness, once you know how to communicate with this part of your being, then you have answers to all your challenges and problems. Whatever thing that you want, if you faithfully and purposefully suggest it to your subconscious mind, he will reveal it to you. The man that created aeroplane, the man that brought about cars and all those things, they knew how to call upon the forces of the universe or nature, how to depend upon their own forces. And therefore, they picked themselves of all superstitions, everything, and therefore looked into themselves and knew that they are complete and independent beings who are here to create their own reality. So they went on to create it. But the African has been a victim of the works of evil forces, a victim of the works of the devil or whatever. And therefore, whatever we suggest, we are suggesting to our subconscious mind is negative. And therefore, we are creating and recreating negative experiences in our lives. No one is against the African. We are ignorantly working against ourselves. And this is the time that we have to accept the truth. You are a creator. You are a powerful human being, my fellow African. There is nothing that you cannot do. But you only have to come to conscious realization and the acceptance of the truth that you are free and independent being. Nothing has power over you until you give that the chance or the mental consent. And so, this is the time that the African has to liberate himself from all kinds of superstitions, all kinds of the bondage, all kinds of burdens that we've put on ourselves, such that a complete human being, when you see an alligator falling on the tree, a lizard falling on the tree, you will not shout, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." When you see an owl during the day, you will not shout, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." When you see anything that is not the normal trend, you will not shout anything, but you begin to look at it that this is nature. And it is just that maybe this or that we are seeing this. The owl, the lizard, whatever we call abominations are part of nature and they are part of our existence. And therefore, as soon as you regard these things as evil forces, then you have enslaved yourself. And as I'm speaking to you, this phenomena is everywhere in Africa. And as I indicated in one of my videos, I have lived in this part of the world, in the developed world, for almost 20 years now. I have never, both in Europe and North America, heard of anyone attributing his difficulties and challenges to gods or whatever. But they believe and understand that everything in our existence is an opportunity, and that is nature moving us forward. Therefore, when circumstances appear, they use their minds, analyze it, and they go on to find out solutions. God passed through them to bring a solution. Then they move themselves forward, and some of these things come to Africa even to move us forward. And so, Africa, my fellow African, wherever you are, we are the most blessed people on earth here. But unfortunately, because our minds are not developed, because our minds are in bondage, we are the poorest people on earth. And now is the time for us to begin to turn this around. Wherever we've been going, there are enough evidence to tell us that we are on the wrong path. And now is the time for us to turn around and begin to walk in the direction with a mindset, with a belief, with the understanding that we have the power and the dominion to transform our lives. And that can only be done by the continual renewing of our minds, the proper and the constructive use of the human mind, in such that we suggest only the good and the beautiful and the wonderful thing to our subconscious mind. And then all these things becomes our reality. And so when African leaders and all of us, we begin to look at after things, the raw materials, and say that we have oil, we have this and that and that, and therefore we see ourselves as rich people. It is a kind of delusional. We will only be rich by having these things only when the Africans or the African minds have begun or have started creating things with all that we have. As it is, we are not, and therefore we will never be rich. And so Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was right. And today, I am expanding this to you and also exposing you to the truth that our poverty, our underdevelopment, we being classified as third world continent or third world countries, is not anyone's doing, but it is because we lack the ability and the understanding of how to use our minds positively and constructively to liberate ourselves. And now is the time. So the African Mental Emancipation Movement is here to move all of us, to bring this awareness, to bring this truth to you, such that all of us will begin to emancipate ourselves one by one, taking ourselves off all these things that we have accepted on ourselves as our beliefs, our culture, our traditions, our religious, whatever, anything that limits you from using your mind as a true human being, free and independent. Nothing has power over you. And whenever you have fear of anything, that means you believe it even more than more than you believe in God. And therefore, this is a time that you need to recalibrate your conscious mind by classifying things from the highest point of view. You are a powerful human being. You are here to make a difference. You are here to make a difference, to contribute to the development of the world, humanity. And this is the time. This cannot be done by just lifting things, or by selling raw materials, but it can only be done by the positive and the constructive use of the human mind. We all have the same mind. Africans, we have the same mind as the Europeans, as the Asians, for we sleep in the same way. We laugh in the same way. We dance in the same. Look, everything that we do as human beings, it's the same. God never shortchanged us. We are shortchanged ourselves. And now is the time for you and I, all of us put together, Africans, wherever we find ourselves, both on the continent and in the diaspora. This is the time that we have to begin to seek mental liberation that Marcus Garvey spoke about. We know very much about Bob Marley's song. We only took the excitement of the song. We didn't actually ponder over it. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can do this. And Marcus Garvey in particular, he actually stated that whilst others may give us physical freedom, it also remains the truth that mental emancipation can only be done by ourselves. And this is the time we have to stand up. Enough is enough. Africa is blessed. You are blessed. God has placed us in the midst of riches. But at the moment, we are behaving like the animals who sleeps, who does everything in the midst of gold and other minerals, but they don't have the concept of how to harness it to improve their lives. And therefore, how we are living, just selling these things to all other people is more or less classifying us as creatures who are just a little bit higher than the lower animals. But that is not what it is. You are a powerful human being. You are born to be great. You are born to be a creator. You are a co-creator with God. So rise up, my fellow Africans, young men and women, rise up and let us put our minds together, looking at things from the highest point of view. There is nothing like abomination. There is nothing like whatever. There is nothing like taboo. Everything in this world has economic value. Every negative situation has economic value. So when things happen in a negative way, we are not supposed to rush into churches, into shrines to seek a spiritual solution, but we are supposed to use our minds to analyze them, to get solutions to that. And that is where we are. And so, the African mental emancipation is here. And I take this opportunity to invite you, my fellow Africans, my brother, my sister, that join us and let us rise up to create a new Africa. The determination, the dream is to create a new Africa. An Africa that is based on principles and obedience of the universal laws and principles and the laws of our beings. You are a powerful human being. The subconscious mind in you responds to your request at any time. And once we know this and we obey, we walk and do and conduct our lives in alignment with the laws of the universe and our own being, all things will be perfect. And that is when we are saying that we are renewing our minds, or we are transforming our lives by the renewing of our minds. We don't only have to limit this text into the church that we go there and then we just dance and come back. No, this is the time we have to begin the transformation of the African life. And it begins with our minds. Once the mind is transformed, once the mind is free, other things follows. And so, I take this opportunity to formally invite you, my brother, my sister, my uncle, my father, whoever is listening to me, that this is the time for all of us to come together and therefore join us as you are listening to me. And as you get to the end of the video, or as you are listening to me right now, please click on the subscribe button and join our community and let us move ourselves forward and put ourselves to where we're supposed to be, such that in the near future, not in long future, in the near future, not in the distant future, in the near future, sooner than later, Africans will begin to take our minds and begin to transform our lives, our environment, our everything into beauty, a place of abundance, a place of joy, a place that attracts all men and women into our fold, such that Africa will be a diverse, multiracial Africa as it is. Africa, particularly the sub-Saharan Africa, is inhabited by only black people. You can travel from one end to the other. The only foreigners that you see on the African continent are those who are there to pick raw materials. Now, this is the time we have to develop our lands such that we become the center of attraction to all men and women, so that they will come and live with us side by side, showing the glory and the beauty of God, which is diversity, which is multiracial, which is multiculturalism. That is the dream. And so, my fellow Africans, now is the hour, now is the time, now is the hour. Let us rise up. We are powerful. You are powerful than you think. Do not fall to these false beliefs that has been handed down onto us. Shake them off and walk, do things, act, and be a free man that moves from one end to the other, conquering and transforming his or her life into a life that is in alignment with the current evolutionary trend. That is my message for you. Once again, please do not forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button and join our community. If you want to reach us, please contact us through the email that has been given at the end of the video. we are more than happy to welcome you and have dialogue, have a conversation, to join our forces together to move Africa forward. Once again, I am Emmanuel Kwejo-Mensah, and I am a co-founder of the African Mental Emancipation Movement and the Eagle Mentality Group. At the Eagle Mentality Group, we teach spirituality, how we can turn our lives into beautiful and wonderful things by obedience to the laws of the universe and the laws of our own being. And it is the same principles upon which the African Mental Emancipation Movement operates. We are building and creating a new Africa based on the obedience, the application of the laws of the universe and the laws of our being, the power of the subconscious mind, and all other things will be just beautiful and wonderful. Thank you. God bless you.